Welcome to Torah Animal World's Animals of the Talmud. Today, I'm going to take you on a journey to see the animals that are mentioned in the Talmud. The Gemara tells us that Reish Lakish screamed like a kruchya. What's a kruchya? There are many other examples of birds and animals that are mentioned in the Talmud that people often don't know what it means. Today I'm going to take you on a journey to see each and every one of the animals of the Talmud.
Nothing can live permanently. The highest peak of all, Mount Everest, 5.5 miles above sea level and still rising, the roof of our world. Of those humans who've tried to climb it, 1 in 10 have lost their lives. Those that succeed can stand for only a few moments on its summit. The Nepalese call it a mountain so high no bird can fly above it. But each year, over 50,000 demoiselle cranes set out on one of the most challenging migrations on Earth. To reach their overwintering grounds in India, they must cross the Himalayas. By late morning, ferocious winds are roaring past the peaks. The cranes must gain height to avoid the building storm. They've hit serious turbulence. They must turn back or risk death. A new day and a new opportunity. The flock stay in close contact by calling to one another. Weak from lack of food and water, they use thermals, rising columns of warm air, to gain height. For many, this is their first journey across the Himalayas. For some, it will be their last. The golden eagles have been expecting them. The eagles work in pairs to separate a young crane from the flock. escapes the clutches of one and is caught by another. But even a young crane is a heavy prize, and the eagle has to struggle to control it. The mother can wait no longer. This is a desperate race against worsening weather. The rest of the flock battle on. In the final ascent, every wing beat becomes an exhausting struggle. At last, they are over the highest barrier that lies in their way. But like all who visit the world of the high mountains, they dare not linger.
There's a beautiful mashal that's mentioned. A lion once got a bone stuck in its throat, and he quickly said, "Whoever will come and take out the bone from my throat, I will give him a tremendous reward." The crane came along, the kruchya came along, and stuck his head into the mouth of a lion until he was able to get out the bone. And then he came and asked the lion for his reward. The lion said to him, "Isn't it enough that I have not eaten you when you had your head in my mouth? You're also asking me for a reward?" So too the Haderskenim in Parshas Toldos tells us, Avimelech said to Yitzchak, "It's a great chesed, it's a great kindness that we haven't done anything to harm you. You also want a reward from us?" So the crane is used in this amazing story, in this amazing mashal of Avimelech and Yitzchak to describe how a lion and a crane were compared to Avimelech and to Yitzchak. A shor is an ox or a steer. A behema is an animal that lives amongst people. A chaya is an animal that lives in the wild. There is also something called a shor habar. A shor habar, the Mishnah in Kilayim tells us, is a kind of behema, and Rabbi Yossi says it's a kind of chaya. And in the Mishnah there's an argument when the Torah lists 7 kosher wild animals, if the ta'oi is the wild ox, the one that lives in the wild. The Onkelos had translated that the ta'oi is a torvala, and torvala means a shor hayar, a wild ox. And that is known today as the bison. So the bison is accepted as a wild shor, a wild ox. So if you look at the 2 animals we have here, we have an animal that lives amongst people, a regular ox, and we also have a bison, which is a wild ox. The shor would be considered a behema, and the bison would be considered a chaya. If you wanted to bring a carbon, it had to be only min ha-behema, from the animals that are considered behemoths, and not the ones that are considered chayas. What are the differences in halacha between a behema and a chaya? Not only, as we just mentioned, for karbanos, for bringing sacrifices, but also for kisui hadam. When you shecht a chaya, you have to make a special bracha on the kisui hadam, on the covering of the blood. Whereas by a behema, you do not have to make a bracha on Kisui Hadam. Another difference would be also the chaleb. There are certain fats which are not permitted to be eaten by a behema, but are permitted to be eaten by a chaya. So you have to be able to tell between a behema and a chaya to know which one it is. There is also another animal which is called a kvi. Now in the Gemara there's a whole discussion of a kvi if it's a suffix behema and a suffix chaya. There is a uncertainty if it's considered a behema and chaya. And the Gemara talks about a few different possibilities of what the kvi is. However, in Shulchan Aruch Yeridea Siman Chav Ches, the Mechaber, the Beis Yosef wrote buffalo, Beis Vav Pei Aleph Lamed Vav, buffalo. And there are two kinds of buffaloes. One is called the African Cape buffalo, which we have here as well. And there's another kind of buffalo that's known as a water buffalo. And according to the Shulchan Aruch, the kvi is a buffalo. We're not sure which the Shulchan Aruch meant. Did it mean the African Cape buffalo, or did it mean the water buffalo? The African Cape buffalo is one of the most ferocious animals in nature. In the wild, he doesn't really bother anybody. However, if a lion attacks him, he will fight the lion and sometimes even kill a lion. And there are cases where a group of African Cape buffaloes have even attacked a group of lions. So they by themselves are very, very quiet and don't bother anybody. But if a lion bothers them, they will attack.
What you're watching now is some of the most extraordinary footage ever shot on a home video camera in the wild. A group of African Cape buffalo walks along the water's edge. Across the way, on the other side, rest several female lions. The buffaloes continue their afternoon stroll. The lions are now on alert and keeping a very close eye on the approaching troop. They switch into hunter mode, preparing themselves for the inevitable. Closer the buffaloes come, ever so close. Then suddenly, the lions attack. Within a matter of moments, the smallest buffalo becomes easy prey for the seasoned hunters. Almost instantly, several lions are on the scene anticipating a tasty lunch. But the story is far from over. The lions try and drag the young buffalo from the water. The buffalo resists and battles with all its strength to stay alive. The buffalo breaks free and slips back to the water. The lions seem confused, perhaps disappointed. But what happens next is simply amazing. A herd of African Cape buffaloes have returned to settle the score. Like an army, they amass before the lions, mere yards away, and move forward toward the big cats. A couple of the lions get up for a moment, but others stay put. The herd gets even closer. One buffalo charges. A lion retreats. Suddenly, a buffalo is chasing and scaring off a lion. The other lions have stayed put, but they are extremely cautious. Standing before them are tons and tons of angry buffalo. Then, a buffalo uses his horn to attack one of the lions, lifting her into the air, causing her and another one to run off. The injured lion is pursued by one of the buffaloes. Meanwhile, the lions have recaptured the young buffalo and are trying to once again bring it down. But the angry mob is not going to let this happen without a fight. They move in, and the little one breaks free. The two remaining cats are in big trouble. They huddle together as the buffalo surround them. Another lion is chased away. Then one more. Finally, the last one flees. But some cats are quite stubborn.
And that is the machlokes between the Ramah and the Beis Yosef lahalacha, if they are considered a behema or they are considered a chaya. And it will make a big difference for us by the halachas of kisei hadam, chelev, and karbanis. With all of what we have seen, we can clearly see the differences of a behema, a domesticated animal, and a wild animal. And that's why when you learn Gemara and you learn shar shenaga chesapara, if a shar, an ox, will go and gar a cow, it's an unusual event that a domesticated animal will take his horns and go and do that. But if it would be a chaya, this is their norm in order to do that. And that's why, for the first few times the balabas, the owner is only required to pay chatzi nezek, half damages, because it is an unusual event that a shar, an ox, who's domesticated, will go and gar a cow. But if it would be in the wild, that would be very normal. One of the common mistakes that people make relating to monkeys is they think that a koif is a monkey. Actually, the word koif, Rashi is very specific in the word that he uses to translate koif. And in the Gemara B'charis, Rashi tells us shinya, which shinya means ape. There is another kind of word that the Gemara uses called a kifuf. And a kifuf, according to Rashi, is a markitza. And a markitza is a monkey. It is a much smaller creature than an actual ape.
Living among the giant cedars are very African survivors. Barbary macaques. This far north in Africa, winter can be severe. But Barbary macaques are remarkably tough animals. The secret of their success is diet. Barbary macaques get by on the slimmest pickings. In winter, when deep snow covers the ground, they stay in the treetops, relying on lichens, leaves, and bark. At the first sign of spring, the macaques leave the canopy to search the forest floor for fresh herbs and shoots. With their thick, warm coats, these snow monkeys are built for heavy weather. Only half as high as the Ethiopian highlands, the Atlas Mountains are, generally speaking, an easier place to live. But the macaque's meagre diet has imposed its own extraordinary discipline. Like geladas, they can't waste energy squabbling, so the 30 or so members in each troop invest a lot of time in their relationships. To protect the troop, male macaques need to be united. So instead of fighting, they'll often pass an infant between them, rather like a football, until they all calm down. The youngsters get an earful from both sides, but nobody gets hurt.
This posse of hunters is not only formidable, it's also very large. In their search for food, chimpanzees move effortlessly between the forest floor and the canopy. They're one of the few jungle animals able to do so. Figs are a vital part of a chimpanzee's diet, and some just can't seem to get enough of them. But there's something special about this stretch of forest in Uganda. Fruit is actually abundant. And a lot of food supports lots of chimps. At 150 strong, this community of chimps is the biggest yet found in Africa. Their numbers are so large that they need a big territory, lots of fig trees, and they're willing to fight for it. These calls announce the start of a raid into land controlled by their neighbors. As they leave their core zone, the patrol goes silent, occasionally stopping to listen. Signs of the enemy are detected and examined closely. The chimp militia are now at the very edge of their territory. All need to be on maximum alert. They must wait and listen. An unfamiliar chimp call raises the tension. It's an uncertain time. The size of the rival group is as yet unknown. Not far away, their neighbors are feeding in a fig tree, oblivious to the approaching dangers. The patrol moves off with a sense of purpose. They must remain silent until they close in on their rivals. The attack is on. To intimidate their opponents, the aggressors scream and drum on buttress roots. Several males corner an enemy female. It's a ferocious attack, and she's lucky to escape with her life. Others are not so fortunate. The battle won, a grisly scene unfolds. An enemy youngster has been caught and killed. Teamwork has brought this group of chimps great success, but they'll soon reach the limits of their power. The competition for resources ensures that no one species dominates the jungle.
A koif was not a monkey. A koif is actually a baboon, and a kipud is a monkey. Here you can see that baboons are actual hunters, and they will even hunt birds. Look at a baboon and see how he hunts flamingos.
He plunges into the startled mass of birds. The flamingos flee for their lives, but the baboon's too fast and strong. And its teeth are long and sharp like a leopard's. The baboon nails its prey with one bite. The peaceful lake has become a killing ground.
There's another kind of creature that Chazal, our sages, talk about that's called a kelev hamayim. A kelev hamayim is an otter. And the Mishnah tells us, Kol shebiyam tahor chutz mikelev hamayim. Every creature in the yam is considered tahor, except for the kelev hamayim. Why? Mipnei shehu bareach le'yabasha. The kelev hamayim, the otter, he runs onto the seashore. That means he goes out of the water onto the land. And therefore he's not like any other sea creature that stays in the sea. He actually will run away to the land. Now the kelev hamayim is very, very important because it has a very unique nature. Otters can actually take on other creatures that you would be surprised to know. For example, watch this amazing clip of otters that take on a crocodile.
Sophia goes in at the front, sizing up the caiman. Others move in to try to distract it, giving Diablo his chance to go for the tail. But the caiman still won't budge. Then it goes for them. The cubs panic and follow the adults right into the middle of the fight. By the time the caiman realizes it's outnumbered, it's too late. The otters step it up. They overpower the caiman, some holding it down, others biting it in the head. After an hour of fighting, it's all over.
Or you may be very interested to see an otter playing piano. Or otters, when they're swimming, sometimes will even hold hands while they're swimming.
They're holding hands.
Oh, look at that.
Absolutely adorable.
A very unique thing to see is an actual funny clip of an actual kelev, an actual dog, trying to attack a kelev hamayim, trying to attack an otter. So here again we see what Chazal tell us, Kol ma sheyesh bayabasha yesh bayam, every kind of creature that there is on land, similarly there is in the sea. And just as we have a dog that barks on the land, otters will bark as well. Beehives and honey are extensively discussed in the Talmud. Devaira is actual bee, and they have honeycombs, and there are a lot of halachas which we find in Shabbos. The Mishnah says, "Ve'inoisnim mayim lifnei devairim." You're not allowed to put water in front of bees, as well as in Baba Kama we find v'chein nechil shel devairim im nisyashu habalim harei elu shaloi. There were people in the ancient world who their job was to be people who raised bees, and this was something that was very common. So there are a lot of halachas where you're allowed to raise bees, how far away from the city, so that they don't be mazik another person. One of the most famous bee farmers of the ancient world was Aspasiones, the father of Titus. In fact, there's a fascinating story about Aspasiones that's related to us by Josephus, by Josephus.
Vespasian had been dismissed from the Emperor Nero's court. He had fallen asleep during one of his interminable poetry readings.
What brings you all the way down here?
Well, to see you, Father.
Yes, and?
Well, the Emperor.
The Emperor? It's not that poetry business, is it? I thought he might have forgotten about that.
One of the emperors of Rome, his name was Nero, and he's called in Chazal Neron Caesar. Rab Meir, Nafak Mimenu Rab Meir was a descendant of Nero. And Nero, besides being the emperor of Rome, he used to like to make performances and be an actor and do poetry readings. And one time, Aspasiones, Vespasian, fell asleep during a performance from Nero. And because of it, he lost his position in the army. And he was sent into exile in his own property, that he couldn't really do anything anymore. He wasn't a public official. What was the job of Aspasiones? He was a bee farmer, and he used to raise bees. And this here was considered a profession that people did in the ancient world. This has many, many halachas that we find all over Shas relating to bees and those people who raise bees. Kiveres devarim, if a person has a honeycomb and a place where you raise bees, there's a question, harehu kikarka, v'koismola prusbel. The Mishnah in Shvius has a whole discussion if it is considered like property, like karka, real property, and doesn't need a prusbel. Ve'eina mekabelis tuma b'mekoima. This is the Mishnah, what it's discussing in Shvius. So too, we find another very interesting halacha, that in Baba Basra, the Mishnah says, marchikim, certain things have to be kept far away. V'sachardel min ha'devarim, you have to keep away mustard from the bees. Rabbi Yossi mater bechardel. Rabbi Yossi says it is permissible. So we have a whole section of halacha relating to bees, how to raise bees, where you're allowed to raise bees, not to be mazik your neighbors, as well as how bees actually make honeycombs. And here in the museum you can see up close a honeycomb, as well as the honey that a bee produced in modern times, and what the Mishnah and the Gemara actually describe relating to bees. We also have a very fascinating clip to show you inside the nests of bees. There are certain kinds of creatures called hornets, and there are certain hornets that like to have honey so much that they actually attack the bees in order to get the honey.
The giant hornet is 5 times the size of a European honeybee. The defenders greatly outnumber the hornets. They know what their enemies want, and they will die trying to stop it. But 30 giant hornets can annihilate a colony of 30,000 bees in 3 hours. It's not even a battle. It's simply a massacre. Then, as quickly as it began, the slaughter is over, and all is quiet again.
So too, many times bears will attack bees in order to get to the hives, in order to get honey. So the bee honey is something that not only a person would want, even animals want bee honey as well. In fact, the Mishnah tells us in Machshirin, Shiva mashkinhein, there are 7 kinds of mashkin, liquids, and one of them is vidvash devarim, and the bees honey. So honey from bees is considered one of the mashkin of the Shiva mashkin that I mentioned in the Mishnah. So if a bee is not a kosher creature, why is it that we are allowed to eat honey? So Chazal tell us a fascinating thing. Our sages tell us that what a bee does is it takes a plant and it pollinates it, and it changes the form from the plant into honey. So the honey is not coming from its body itself, it's just doing a transformation from plant into honey. And that's why if it would be coming from the body of the bee itself, it would be usur. Masha Enkin, if it's only being changed a form, and that's what honey is, that is why honey is permissible to be eaten and considered something that is kosher. The lion. As we have previously explained, there are many types of lions. The category of the lion is called the Ari. And then the ages of each lion is a different age. There's the Ari, the Aryeh, the Gur Aryeh, the Shachal, the Kfir, the Lavi, and the Laish. And in a special presentation on Animals of the Torah, I explained the difference between each of these lions. But why is the lion considered the king of all the animals? The lion's not the biggest animal. Giraffes are bigger than lions. Elephants are bigger than lions. The lion is not the most ferocious animal in the world. Crocodiles are more ferocious than lions. So why is it the lion is considered the king of all animals? What is it about a king that is represented with the lion? A king doesn't have fear of anyone. He is fearless. And so too, the lion is fearless, even to fight with creatures much larger than itself. The lion goes into the fight, with no fear. Some of the most interesting confrontations that has ever been filmed between lions is something you are about to see right now.
8 lions attack an enormous buffalo, but the animal refuses to die. For almost an hour, the buffalo fights back. Awestruck, Woliter films while the pack eviscerates the giant beast.
As you have seen in previous presentations, the buffalo fights the lion, and that's a continuous fight that goes on all the time. But other fights of lions, many people have never seen. For example, a fight between a cheetah and a lion.
Get down, cubs. Get flat. Oh no, the cubs are one of them's standing up. He's trying to crawl away. They're terrified. Absolutely terrified. He looks like he's seen her. Don't let this happen. She's getting into a threat position. She's threatening the lion. This is ridiculous. She will be killed. What a brave mother. She is a fragile cat. There's no way she can challenge a male lion. The babies are running. They're just running. They don't know which way to turn. In the meantime, Honey, remarkable and brave cat that she is holding her ground, trying to give her babies enough time, trying to give them a head start, trying to distract the lion and make sure that he doesn't pursue them.
A lion attacking a crocodile.
Crocodiles don't fear the rulers of the land, with one exception. Pharaoh.
Today, the pride's protector has earned his keep.
Lions battling even elephants. Lions even leaping in mid-air to catch different antelope.
Blessbok crossed their path in the Shamwari Game Reserve in South Africa. Evading the first lion, the startled Blessbok then leapt from the ridge in a desperate attempt to escape, only to be athletically caught in mid-air by the second. Crashing to the ground just feet away from an amazed tour group, the big cats made quick work of overpowering their prey. The lions enjoyed a well-won meal.
And watch and see a man with no weapons climb into a lion cage and fight a lion. So when the Gemara in Avodah Zarah tells us, in Moichin La'akum, a Yid is not allowed to sell to a non-Jew a lion, B'chol Davar Sheyesh Bo Nezek L'Rabim, clearly you can see how lions are able to cause tremendous damage. No matter what their opponent is, they will take them on at the right moment and at the right time.
To book a Living Torah Museum tour, please call 877-PLAN-A-TOUR. That's 877-752-6286.